fair game.
I guess we should now. Who wants to do which piece? No arguing now. Let's go.
Battleship has my name on it.
Okay, that's
Be
you.
the dog, if I'm not. That's where the
Okay.
fight starts, what I am, but
Right.
I'm gonna have to go with the dinosaur then. I think.
Dinosaur, good choice. And I think I'll go top.
So what is Monopoly Lifesized, Tom?
It's an on-your-feet, very active version of the game. You know, we're turning it into a team effort. So you start in, there's four teams of up to 6 people that can play, and essentially you're all pitted against each other in this fast-paced, exciting, on your feet, stepping into the world of Monopoly. Still roll dice. We still land on squares and buy property. The difference being that instead of just landing and being able to buy, there's stuff to do. You have to step off the board. You have to engage in a challenge that is themed on that square.
Should feel like a whirlwind tour around London, shouldn't it?
Yeah.
You get to sort of see the sights and sounds and you know, some of those, as you say, iconic parts of London that you know, you can sort of do them all on a board now, which I think is quite exciting for.
Yeah.
Hang on, that's me. I'm having a good game here.
You did well, yeah.
I think there's not one person that I could think of that doesn't know Monopoly.
Also, I think everyone I've spoken to about it just gets really excited at the idea of doing this.
Yeah.
So I don't think any of us have had any kind of resistance to that. So it feels like the perfect first immersive game that we're doing, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I think what's really exciting about working with a brand like Hasbro, who are huge and you know so well known, is that you know people have such an affinity with this game. So many different aspects of this game are iconic, and for us, we've just been figuring out how does this live in a live experience that's you know on your feet, 4D, high octane, exhilarating, and that's been the real fun part of the journey. So I mean, part of the thinking is how do you bring all these you know iconic streets and properties onto a board, and I think the challenge for us was to figure out how we sort of give that experience in an hour and a half format, and part of it was actually breaking them apart a bit, wasn't it? And looking at sort of having 3 different boards that had their own identity, where you can actually come back to the experience more than once and have an entirely different experience on another board.
Yeah, we've taken an awful lot from obviously the board game, but similarly the Monopoly Go version and that card game, which if anyone has played will know is much more brutal in its options, sort of stealing properties, dare I say. And
yeah, the stealing of properties is certainly another layer, and I think we're sort of quite enjoying embracing that in the life-size version. You know.
Also, sorry, it was my birthday, so I need 10 things from every birthday.
I think you just rolled, so it's the
I
after
think
birthday.
I think you've missed your chance.
I wasn't.
We've also got the junior board, haven't we?
Yes.
As well?
Junior as a board is quite a lot different, isn't it? It's not streets or properties in that regard. It's actually like sort of you know destinations that I think we'd all like to buy. You know, like your street shops, and pizzerias, and you know. So there's a lot of fun to be had in that particular board for the younger audiences, isn't there?
And older kids can play with their families on the other boards, can't they? So although we've kind of nominated junior board to 5 to 8, so everything's going to be age appropriate, isn't it?
Yeah.
And kind
Challenges.
of task appropriate. And we're getting some experts in to help us kind of make sure that everything we're doing is physically possible for the children to do.
And it's not money as well, is it? It's tokens, which I think is nice, and
Really
you know,
nice.
it's a different approach, but it's great for the younger kids to sort of go through the experience and collect their tokens up as they go. But the fundamentals are there, and the competition is still there as well. Because it is a game for the entire family.
It is.
You know,
I think it'd be really nice for families who, you know, like everybody who's struggled, kind of thinking of trying to come up with fun things for kids to do at the moment. It's been a tough old year for everybody, and I think this is a really nice way for kids to kind of have fun with something they know already, but something that's been repurposed and is new, and I think they're going to really enjoy it.
So we've got 3 boards, haven't we? We've started with obviously a classic board, which is you know aesthetically very much like what we see in front of us here, but we've got our vault themed board, which is sort of high end, and then the city, which is how do you describe that?
It's sort of like stepping into, I guess, downtown London, but in like a cartoony kind of way. Yeah, exactly.
I think also with Game Pass coming from a theatrical background as well, I think we're trying to bring all of those elements into the gameplay, the set designs, and the sounds.
I was going to say, how do you approach this? You know, obviously, how do you theatricalise the board?
Well, it's an interesting, exciting challenge. I mean, you know, obviously there's such a heritage of Monopoly with the locations, and we've got, you know, there's there's the obvious ones. We've got the train stations, but then things like the Pentonville jail and stuff like that. We can have a lot of fun to really help immerse the audience within this world of the game they're playing, and just keep the sort of tension and high stakes running through it, and really keep the whole world alive, but really true to the locations that they're playing.
Collect 200.
Breaking it in.
I believe I am.
I think the key difference in life size is that nothing is quite as simple as it feels in terms of you don't just grab a house or hotel, you actually have to, there's more to it. You have to construct, don't you?
Yeah, if you have a property, for example, when it's not your turn to roll the dice, you have an option to try and build one. It's not as simple as just buying one. So the houses are a slightly simpler puzzle, but the hotels are difficult and they're 3D. So you sort of put together one of those 3D models.
I mean, when we sort of started approaching, how do we look at the different areas of the board, and how do we sort of look at the challenges that groups will face when they're on our board? I mean, Mayfair is the crown, isn't it? It's the top of the board, the dark blues. We started to think about the level of difficulty and how we could, give our audiences a sense of the real value of having to get these properties outside of just the monetary value, having to make them work really hard to get them. And I think, by all accounts, it is going to be a real challenge for Park Lane and Mayfair to be bought, and that's what's quite exciting.
Yeah,
exactly that. Yeah, exactly. We've tried to design the game so that the browns, bless them, are super simple to finish those challenges and to buy those properties, and it gets continually harder as you move around.
But I think, it is interesting, isn't it, that actually there's lots of points of failure, and so much of our version, the life-size version, is skills-based, logic-based. You have to really collaborate as a team.
How have you lost all that money?
Because I've played incredibly well, and I've taken many more goals than all of you. Alright then, since I'm on your property, Tom, what's going on there at Pentonville Road?
Pentonville Road, well, Pentonville is obviously home of similarly close to the home of the infamous prison. So that one of our poor little tokens has been locked away and chained up rather brutally. And the players have to find the keys that unlock the padlocks.
I don't think what are challenges when we were thinking about Leicester Square?
Well, there's so much around that particular area, but actually what we ended up with was paying a bit of homage to Chinatown. That particular game is a large, it's probably going to be sort of 4 or 5 foot tall 3D puzzle of the arches at the end of the street in Chinatown.
Bond Street.
Bond Street, yeah. Bond Street is either the home of or close to the home of Sotheby's. So actually what we've done there is an auction game, where you have to guess the values of various things that have actually been auctioned from Sotheby's.
There's some really, really interesting items, isn't there? You're like, really? And the value for some of these items as well. It's been a really...
It's a different world, isn't it?
Alright, so obviously in our version the jail is a little bit different than rolling a 6 together, isn't that right?
Yeah, exactly, yes. So we will have a physical jail. It will feel like you're stepping into jail with the rest of your team. You'll all be in there and locked in.
Brilliant. Love it. Absolutely love it.
Better like the people you're playing with.
Yeah, exactly.
Can you nominate people to go to jail, or do you actually have to do that?
But you will have an opportunity to either pay your way out, pay your bail and carry on if you want to, or you can spend the time trying to escape and avoiding having to pay that jail. There is
escape the jail.
Exactly. It's sort of we've kind of turned them all into their little mini escape room experiences. So and you're not there indefinitely. If you still haven't got out after 3 turns and you're still refusing to pay that bail.
So you can come back and play a different board and have a completely different experience in that jail, and it's this real sense of being able to have lots of different experiences on the board, land on different properties each time you come. So you hopefully want to come back and play again. You've another chance to be the winner if you're not the winner on the first go.
Couldn't have planned it better, but community chest, go to jail. Well, so I've just landed on community chest, and naturally won second prize in a beauty contest and collect £10. How does that work in Monopoly Lifesized?
It's one of the funnest parts to put together, hasn't it? It's some of these iconic cards that you don't really, if you said you won second place in the beauty contest, everyone would go to Monopoly. They're quite iconic. But it is the opportunity for the teams to really have a laugh, and we've got some silly challenges there to essentially, again, how do you up the value? How do you, or how do you take some value from another team?
The way that we split them out is that the chance cards tend to be ones that you'll want to save. So we put in things like steal properties, or we've added new ones that
It's much more the Monopoly sort of deal, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's pretty brutal. If you get the
Exactly.
wrong, you know, the get the wrong card and just about to buy that property, whatever else, can really disrupt, can't it?
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
it's, can't claim,
Okay.
and I got a double.
There you go.
Win-win for me on that one. And this, Julia, is particularly important.
Well, it is. I'm glad you asked me about that, David.
Piece for us,
Yes,
isn't it?
is.
Top hat.
Top hat. Yes, because really excitingly, we've been able to design, and we're going to be opening both a bar, a Monopoly bar, and a top hat bar, and a top hat restaurant. And everything has been thought through, from the colour of the drinks to linking them to some of the streets as well, and everything is going to be fun, whether it's the food, whether it's the design, wherever you're sitting. So you can really have a proper day out when you come to the building, and the building's in the most amazing location in central London as well, just off Tottenham Court Road.
Yeah.
You can use a lift to all the floors, all the boards, so everyone's welcome. Everyone should be able to get to every part of the building. So it's a really good space.
I think there's a definite more of a camaraderie around our version of the game, and you it is competitive, but it's also really fun to play your friends, and I think people will come out feeling really like they want to go back in. I think.
Yeah, I mean, I think they the audience is going to come out haven't had just such a great time. They've played this game in a new way. I think they're going to be desperate to do it again.
What could be better? Actually bringing Monopoly to life and having the opportunity to do it yourself. I think everyone's going to be skipping out in the building.
I agree. I think when people come out, if they're anything like jail again, if they're anything like me, they'll head straight downstairs for some refreshments afterwards and spend the next couple of hours analysing what on earth went wrong, because I'm almost certain I'll lose, like I do every game of Monopoly. Monopoly Lifesized in a couple of words. I think I'd probably go for energetic and exhilarating.
I would say it's going to be amazing fun for all ages.
It's going to be a real fun experience for everyone, really. To really play this game in real life. With it coming alive around you, it's just going to be really fun.
Yeah, it's a game everyone knows and a brand new way to play it, isn't it?
I think I would summarise it that it's all about teamwork. You've got to work as a group to succeed in the board, which I think is going to be really fun to play with your friends.
Speaking of friends, look at you two in jail together.